approach to your health span. Have you noticed how our healthcare system may not have your best interest in mind? Join Dr. Eckel in this fun and sometimes disturbing exploration of the state of healthcare and what it means for you. Now, here's your host, Dr. Eckel.
Welcome back, everybody. I am Dr. Greg Eckel, and this is a very interesting and disturbing talk, which I was going to start with fun, but you can't really say fun when you're talking to the Toxin Terminator, although I think we could have fun with that, right, Aimee?
We can have a lot of fun with this, yes.
So this is Aimee Carlson, and she is the Toxin Terminator. She's the host of the Toxin Terminator podcast, a best-selling author, certified toxicity and detox specialist, and featured expert guest and speaker on numerous podcasts and summits. She spent the last 8 years removing hidden toxins from her own home to be free of chronic disease, which that is why we brought her to you all, and has helped hundreds do the same. Through her podcast, she has had access to some of the top doctors, the healers, experts, and industry leaders in natural health and wellness field. Aimee's passion is giving hope to those who are still suffering, getting no relief from traditional medicine, and ready to take control by detoxing and cleansing to their health and environment. Welcome to What the Health, Aimee.
I love the title of your show. Show titles are important, and why not, right?
I thank you. Yeah, and it really is what sometimes when you start getting into it, it's like, what the hell is going on out there? And exactly why I created this platform, because this information is not coming from the top down. In fact, I have a little hashtag started, the emperor wears no clothes. When you look at the EPA, the FDA, and the revolving door with industry, we're going to get into it. And I think that the beginning I will lob you the first question, which is, what does chronic disease look like in our nation? I mean, I love the title of this, the Toxin Terminator, and I'm excited for the gems that are going to come out of this.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here with your audience, excited to be sharing really things that all of us need to be aware of. If the last 20 months have taught us nothing, it has taught us that our health is of the utmost importance. And unfortunately, in mainstream media, we're not going to get those answers and solutions. So we need to come on to shows like this. We need to be asking all the relevant questions and really turning over all the stones and not just taking everything at its face value. So our current nation, I wrote my book 2 years ago, and I just was doing a module with my group program that I teach, a women's group coaching program. And in the last 2 years, the numbers have even changed. It's now 1 in 8 adults have a chronic disease, 1 in 8.
Wow.
And that is crazy to me, because it used to be 8 out of 10, excuse me, not 1 in 8. 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I was going to say, that seems a little low, because over half the children have a chronic illness now, right?
That's the even sadder fact. I'm a grandma to 12, and I think about the future of my grandchildren. But let's get back to chronic disease. 8 out of 10 adults now have chronic disease. And out of those 8 people, 65% have 2 or more chronic diseases. 2 or more. What's driving this? What's going on? Well, I contend it's toxins, and it's all kinds of different toxins that we used to not be exposed to. When our grandparents and great-grandparents were living, they were exposed in their entire lifetime to the amount of toxins that we're exposed to in less than a year of our time.
Wow, an entire lifetime.
Yeah, it's and look at what's being pushed on us. If you don't think that toxins are out there now, I was in the automotive industry for 30 years. I actually worked on cars for a living. That's what I did for 30 plus years. So I was in a very highly regulated industry. And I naively thought, because I was in this highly regulated industry, so was every other industry. And when I started finding out about my own health and digging into things and finding out that, that's not so true. Our products that we use every single day inside of our home have no safety tests done on them, not one test is being done on them in conjunction with each other. So for instance, I say to you, as a woman and a man, you get ready in the morning just the same as we do. You don't just brush your teeth. You don't just put deodorant on. You don't just take a shower. We do all those things. And then we drink coffee, and then we eat our cereal, and then we drive in a car. We have all kinds of chemicals that we're exposed to, and no one's finding out how do these react with each other.
This is a huge component, right? I do a lot, see a lot of folks with neurodegeneration, brain health issues, and you look at the rising tide, the basically explosion of neurodegeneration, among other things. I mean, you're saying 8 in 10 adults, and I think the stats on kids, it's up in the 60th percentile now of children with chronic illness, which, you know, this is criminal what is going on in the country. There's no regulations. I mean, it's basically reversed of prove to us after the fact that you have this illness that our substance caused that, right? Even after, I mean, if we talk about the biggie of glyphosate, I can still now in Oregon walk to the grocery store and they have cancer causing agents that they've spent billions of dollars in court admitting this caused cancer. You can still just buy it in the grocery store. It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, this is the reason why I say to everyone, just as food, it's the same thing with food, but our personal care products are no different. The front of any product is marketing. It means zero, nada, doesn't have any weight bearing in it at all. Turn that product around and start reading the ingredients. That's where you're going to find what is inside that food, the personal care products. I did a video just the other day on yogurts. It says no sugar added. Is what it says on the front. You turn it around and I had 3 ingredients that end in OSE. Sorry, that's sugar.
Wow. Wow. So it was just like a technicality on the grammar that it didn't say sugar. So it was like sucralose and all the other.
That's natural sugar. So we don't have to call that out, right?
Aha. Yes. So the tricking marketing component on a healthy food product where you get,
it happens in our food. We see all these things that say keto friendly. Please don't just assume that that makes it a better food product. Turn it around and start reading it. We see products that are hypoallergenic. What's that mean? Really means nothing, right? You know, dentist approved, you know, dermatologist approved. You know, it's just words that they're using to make us feel better. They're appealing to our emotions.
That's a biggie as well. What I see around a lot of my patients will come in and say, well, I'm eating gluten-free. Like that's a health choice. And it's like, well, but there's a lot of simple carbohydrates in those foods and a lot of fillers and a lot of junk. So it is, I love this, read the labels. So not just on our food, but you know, all of them. I mean, you were in a highly regulated industry in a auto body, right? In a garage, but still exposed to a lot of those substances. And then our kitchens, I mean, what do we do? Like, what do we? Yeah.
Well, first of all, let's be aware. Should we just walk room by room through the house? Let's just do a quick walk through the house.
Let's do that.
You know, the things that we use every single day, those are the things that are going to be most important. Just like people always ask me, what should I buy organic? Well, all of it. But if we have to choose, what do you eat every day? That for sure should be organic. You know, so let's think about this. What do we use every day? We clean our houses, right? So we need to take a look at our cleaning products. We do laundry. You know, some of us multiple times a day. We need to take a look at our laundry products. What are we cooking our food in? What are we storing our food in? What does our water look like? What do the personal care products look like? So there's kind of, when you start digging into this, you start seeing a theme and a pattern. All right. And let me tell you, one of the biggest tips I can give your audience is there's an app called Think Dirty. Have you heard of that one?
No, but I like the title of it.
It's not what you're thinking. Get your head up here, up here, up here. So it's called Think Dirty. It's a free app. You download it on your phone. The creator of this app, her mother had breast cancer. And we know that there's a lot of estrogen mimicking products out there that are driving up our rates of breast cancer. And this is why she started looking at personal care products to begin with. And so what it does is it gives you a safety rating from 0 to 10. You can type in your cleaning products, your laundry room products, your personal care products, your makeup. It'll give you a safety rating on it.
Wow.
Not only does it give you a 0 to 10 safety rating, but it's going to call out the ingredients. So good or bad is going to tell you what's in it that's getting the good rating, what's in it that's getting the bad rating. Now, this was my educational tool when I first started, because I started to see, ooh, phthalates. Phthalates are not good. We don't want products with sulfates. Sulfates are another thing that aren't good. We don't want sulfates. Fragrance. Fragrance always gets an 8 or higher score. We don't want fragrance. We don't want sodium lauryl sulfate. That's a biggie. That's a no-go. Parabens. We don't want parabens. So we start seeing some of those top ones that are consistent time and time again.
Got it. Oh, that's a great tip. That I wrote that one down. It's easy to remember as well.
Yes.
And it is essential. I mean, because there are so many things. We're not asking people to learn all of this.
Right.
There's an app to really guide you. So you want lower numbers on the scoring.
Right. I don't allow anything in my home that scores higher than a 3.
I love it. And the other resource around that is Environmental Working Group, which I love what they put out there too.
They are good, but their database is not as large as Think Dirty, just FYI. And there's a lot that you cannot find on EWG and you can on Think Dirty.
Perfect. That's great. That's great.
EWG though, let me give a shout out to them. If you are on city water, so this is a question I get all the time. What kind of water filtration system should I have? I don't know. What's in your water? That's number one. We need to know what is inside your water. And if you're on city water, you can go to ewg.org and you look at the tab. There's a tab that says water on it. You can type in your zip code and it'll tell you what is testing inside your water source.
Oh, love it.
Yep. So now you'll know, all right, I've got heavy metals. There's pharmaceuticals they're finding. There's chlorine, there's fluoride, there's chloramine. You'll know exactly what it is that's inside there. So you'll know, do I need a UV light? Do I need carbon? Charcoal, excuse me. Do I need charcoal? Do I need, a water softener? Do I need reverse osmosis? I happen to use a combination of them. Sure. But once you know what's in it, you're going to know what's best to filter it out.
Love it. Do you have one, just out of curiosity, for air, like what people are getting exposed to in their neighborhood or at their workplace?
So what do we want to avoid, or what do we want to use to protect ourselves?
Well, similar to these, like the Think Dirty app or EWG with the water. Why I'm asking, there used to be a website that you could put in your zip code and it would tell you
air purity.
Yeah, air purity, but they kind of erase that.
Well, for outside, most of the weather apps have an air index quality control. So not that we see everything in there, but we're going to get an idea of that. It's really hard to tell in the air outside your home. Now, the air inside your home, there's lots of different companies that test your air quality inside the home. If you're having issues that aren't cleared up by taking some simple detox and toxin removal steps, you might need to dig in a little bit deeper to see, do you have some mycotoxins going on, for instance, mold, that we need to take a look at. And then we would want to do an air quality control. There's there's lots of different ones, and there's ones I'd steer clear of, and there's ones that I'd certainly use. Sure. And then there's a lot of good companies for purifying the air. I happen to use, well, you can't really see it over here. I use essential oils. I've actually compared them against an air purifying machine. And my essential oils do a much better job at purifying the air than the machines do.
Oh, interesting. You just fuse them into the environment. Yep. Cool.
So that's just me. That's what I choose to do. But there's certainly other options out there. Air Doctor is one of them. Does a fantastic job with their products that they have as well.
Yeah, I like Austin Air and IQ Air, especially IQ Air for mold issues. So those are, there are a lot of resources out there on that front. What other rooms have we covered? All of the rooms for?
So, right, we look at bathroom. Bathroom, we're looking at personal care products. We talked about water. Now, here's my tip for you on water. There are companies out there that actually do rental. So if you're in, say you're in a home that's a temporary home or it's a rental property and you don't want to install a water filtration system for the whole house, you can actually rent the products, and it's under $50 a month to do that. And you'll have clean water throughout your entire home, as well as good drinking water that you can have. There's also Aquasana has water shower filters. So while you might have something on your spigot for your water, we want to make sure that our bathing and showering water is really more important than what we're drinking, actually, because the pores of our skin open up in that heat under the hot water. And so everything that's in that water is coming right directly into the skin. And depending on the condition of your skin, depending on the chemicals that are coming in, it's anywhere from 20 seconds to 2 minutes that it can be detected inside the body. So this is pretty important.
That is a biggie. That's a route people don't really think about. Even the inhaling chlorine from the shower as well.
Yes.
So that's a great hidden area.
It is.
Any other components in the house or around that you found like, oh, this was an aha moment?
For me, it was the water, making sure that what I was bathing and showering in was clean. And you'll notice a huge difference in your skin and hair when you clean that up. Big difference in skin and hair. Fragrance was a big one. I suffered from headaches, neurological disorders. In fact, the last 2 years of my life, I had lost vision on the left side from the migraines that I got. Not just while I had a migraine, it was gone. I had lost the vision on my left side. It's since come back, but fragrance was a key issue in getting that out of my home in all of the products that I used. And I haven't had a migraine or a headache since I did that.
Wow. Yeah, right. How often were you having those?
Well, headaches were every day, migraines at least once a week.
Geez, right. And no, it doesn't really come up in a discussion in the doctor's office, right?
It came up all the time because I had them my entire adult life. And in fact, between my reproductive issues and my neurological issues, I was at experts and pawned off onto other doctors. And I had doctors telling me it was in my head.
That's what I mean. It was not, the toxin load was not.
No. Lifestyle was not broached at all, other than to tell me I had a high stress job. Wow.
Goodness.
Tell me something I don't know.
So that's the beginning part, is just kind of awareness and the recognition of, like, we're swimming in it. I think the stat I have is like 80,000 chemicals that have never been tested in humans we're getting exposed to on a weekly basis in the US. I mean, the stats on newborns in cancer causing agents found in the placenta tissue, like, it's a fact. It's not a fun fact, but it's a fact that we're swimming in toxins. Now, the good news of this is that we're rather resilient as a species, right?
Yes, we are. Here's the thing. We got to take our hand off the fire, right? If you get a burn, whether it be, say you hit the stove, the burner on the stove, and you go run it under cold water, or you put ice on it, right? You've removed it from the source of the burn, and now you're treating it. It's the same thing with our bodies. If we don't remove our hand from the fire, which are the toxins, we're never going to get well, no matter how beautifully this detox pathway is in our body. We have to do the best that we can. We're not going to be perfect at it. We're still going to have exposures because we're living in the world. We don't want to be in a bubble. And so the second side of that is this detoxification pathway that starts down at the colon and goes all the way up to the lymphatic system and the cells in the tissue.
So what is that process our bodies use to remove the toxins?
So we've got 5 layers, right? We have the colon. everybody, that's when I get to be with people, I'm sure Dr. Eckel, how are you pooping? It's one of the questions that we ask.
It's a
Gotta
dinner
know.
table discussion in my household.
And
The kids love that.
not only how are you pooping, but what does it look like? We want you turning around and taking a look at it, right? We need to know, is it a number 4 or a 5 on the Bristol stool chart? Are you pooping at least every day? I have people tell me, oh yeah, I'm not constipated at all. Great. How many times are you pooping? Oh, once or twice a week. Well, no, you should be pooping once or twice a day.
Yeah.
You should ideally be pooping every time you eat.
Yeah. When you watch little children eating, breastfeeding, they're pooping every time they eat. That's
every time.
A healthy elimination. For adults, at least, I'm with you, once in a 24-hour span, you really should have a bowel movement, if not more.
If not, yeah. And there's things that we can do to move that along. So I always talk to people, hey, if you're not eliminating once a day, we're not going up that detox pathway any further until we get the bottom open. We need you eliminating once a day. So what can you do? You can add more fiber-rich foods, right? We know fiber is the scrub brush. It's going to go in and clean out the intestine and the digestive tract and really start pushing things through. So 25 grams as a woman, up to 35 grams as a man a day of fiber-rich foods. Easy one to add is chia seeds. Put them in your smoothies, put them on your salads. 2 tablespoons of chia seeds a day. You've got all the grams of fiber you need.
You said 2 tablespoons?
2 tablespoons. Yep.
Perfect.
Slap that in that smoothie in the morning. Now get those enzymes going. Did you know this tip? I had somebody share this with me. Oh gosh, probably a year ago. So many of us are in the smoothie routine, right? We want to drink those smoothies in the morning. It's a great way to get a bunch of vegetables, in one serving. So what we want to do, we got to get the enzymes activated. So start making that, chomping sound, that chomping motion before you drink the smoothie. That'll help activate the enzymes.
Interesting. Yeah, it does get some saliva going, doesn't it?
It does. All right. So fiber-rich foods, take a walk, move, exercise. That will help you start eliminating as well. And of course, what you were just doing, drink the water. Water is going to support every single layer of that detoxification pathway inside your body. So drink lots of water.
Yeah, the hydration is key. It used to frustrate a lot of my patients, was like, gosh, I came to see you for your first visit. All you gave me was drink more water. It was like, it's that important,
I love it.
How you do with that.
Yeah, I paid a lot of money to know that tip. Right. Okay. So passing it along.
Yes.
That's great. Okay. So then next we go up to the organs of the body, right? So we have the liver, the bile, we've got the kidney and the skin. All organs of the detoxification pathway. And we want to make sure that those organs are loved on, especially the liver. The liver has over 500 functions within the body, detoxification being a huge piece of the puzzle. So what do we know? What happens when these pieces of the puzzle aren't working? We might see things like brain fog. We might see anxiety, depression, bloating, gas, diarrhea, constipation. We might see skin issues, eczema, psoriasis flaring up because the toxins are just recirculating throughout the body, right?
Yeah, so those are the symptoms of potentially of a toxic overload syndrome.
Right.
And they're so common. Those are such common complaints that bring people in to the provider's office.
Pain. Joint pain,
yeah.
These are things that are, and you'll see that when we look at, if your methylation processes aren't working right, you know what? It's the same symptoms that are occurring. If you are, you'll see many of the same symptoms happening across the board. And here's the thing, they are commonplace and people have accepted them as commonplace. And they're accepting them as, well, my friends all feel this way. And they're accepting them as, well, I'm not as young as I used to be, or I have young children. Of course, I'm tired all the time. I don't get any sleep. Or, we're excusing it away and we're accepting mediocrity in how we feel as a whole person.
Yeah, it is. I think should just admit we live in a sick and diseased society. I think that is, it's clear when you look at, I say I want to live to 150 years old. And when I say that in a room, right, it gets really quiet and they look at me like, doctor, you're insane. Have you seen what they look like out there? Like, why would you want to do that? I was like, well, not with what we see as aging right now.
Right.
But with my brain and with my brawn and with community, like, why the heck not? It's amazing. Life is amazing, especially when you feel good, right? So that's the
it's
piece.
not about it is about longevity, but it's also about the quality of life. Who wants to live to be 100 years old and you're wheelchair bound, or you don't have your mental faculties about you? Of course, we don't want to live to be 100 years old in that condition. But if you could feel well, maybe not exactly how you feel, but exactly how I feel today.
Yeah.
And this is how I'm going to feel at 90, at 100 years old. Sign me up. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's the component, I talk about it is it's very common, but there's nothing normal about it, right? Our healthy aging process, our bodies are meant to be well. And what we're seeing is they're not, right? I was sitting in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, a couple years ago at a restaurant called Eaton Park, Eaton Park, right?
Okay.
Go in, it's a huge buffet. And I just looked around. It was like my table, my kids, my aunt. I was like, wow, my family of humans are treated as products. Like, how much empty food can we shove in their gullet, creating obesity, diabetes, heart disease, cancer? Mm-hmm. And then how many drugs can we sell them before they go to the grave? Like, it's basically people have become a product on the planet. And, it just is not right.
No, and there are over 200 diagnosed autoimmune diseases today. Now, I don't know about you, Greg, but when I was a child, I hadn't even heard the word autoimmune disease. When I was a child, I lost my mom to cancer. Not one of my friends was in that circumstance, not one of them. Today, it's commonplace.
Yeah.
Absolutely commonplace. So it's a very sad state of affairs. And we are seeing this all the time in the current environment. Everybody wants everybody else to protect everybody else. We don't want to actually take charge of our own health. It's the same people screaming that you have to do this, have to do that, and they're shoving donuts and soda, down and pizza.
Yeah, it is. It's over the top. There's a word that comes to mind, which is responsibility. And it is each of ours responsibility. I like to tell my kids, like, they're powerful, but not that powerful. They're not going to kill Aunt Joan. They're not going to kill their grandparents because they have some virus or bugs that are exposing others too. It's your responsibility. If you don't feel safe going out, don't go out. But to start pointing the finger, it's like, well, wait a minute. We have corn syrup in soda pop. Mm-hmm. We have sugar load. We have simple carbohydrates. We know all of those things do not do well for our immune system. And yet they're allowed. It just is like, wait, this is very backwards with what we're talking about.
It's very backwards. I live in a 55 plus community down here in Arizona. And I'm not trying to badger on the current state of affairs, although, we can go there, as well. But I'm in a 55 plus community, and there's a whole lot of people that, we are, well, what's the word I'm looking for that they use? We're a society here within this community that is really at risk. And I'm like, really? You're saying that to me as you're at Monday morning coffee and donuts? Mm-hmm. And I don't see you out walking every day when I'm out on my walk. I don't, it's like you have a choice. Everybody has a choice. You can choose to feel exactly how you feel today, or you can choose to feel different. It's really up to you. And all it takes is one small step. We're not saying you have to change everything. Eventually you will. But to start with, you don't. You just need to take one small step. And by choosing not to do something, you're actually making a choice.
Right. And the choice is you're making yourself very vulnerable. The
Yeah.
resilience of people right now in the United States is very low. And
Yeah.
that is one of the components as to why we have such a high death rate. And I'm fine talking about the virus because it is a simple virus where a majority of the young people get over it and have really
Absolutely.
relatively no
Well,
symptoms.
we want to talk about hidden toxins, and we want to talk about this virus. And
Yeah.
and so many people go to chemicals,
Yeah.
which I'm all for talking about. And we can do that, and we can talk about that, and we can talk about the detoxification pathway. We can come back to that. But some of the other hidden toxins that no one wants to address and talk about are stress.
Yeah.
What is going on inside this mind of ours? That's number one. Number two would be EMFs. We are bombarded with electronic magnetic frequencies. They're the invisible toxin. You can't see it, but you absolutely can feel it. So what can we do on the EMF front?
Yeah.
Distance is your friend. Distance is your friend. Your router, your Wi-Fi router, modem, whatever it is that you're using inside your home should be in a centralized area of your home, not in your family room, not in your bedroom, not where you are or your family are constantly. It needs to be put away in a centralized location away from the main hub of the home. Secondly, at night, it should be shut down. You should put that thing into airplane mode, shut it down. There's no reason to be having it on at night. And thirdly, your bedroom is your oasis. This is where you sleep. It's where you rest. It's where you repair. This is where we need to go and have peace and comfort. So no electronics, no TV, no cell phones, no laptops. Get that out of the bedroom, make it dark, turn down the temperature, and sleep. You can do other things in there too if you want, but let's sleep.
Awesome. Those are great ones to bring up because a lot of folks don't think of those as toxins. In fact, we can't see them. We can feel stress. And some people feel the EMFs, but not everybody. And we're just swimming in that as well. So that adds to that total body burden.
It does. And here's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Some people don't feel stress. Some people have been living in such a high state of alert, that fight or flight state of mode. We have not closed that circuit, and we just don't even realize that we're in that heightened state. And we are, so go ahead.
Do you have any suggestions or symptoms that people should look for that they may not know that they're living in a heightened state of stress?
Can you recall your words? Do you know what you went into the room for? Are you constantly multitasking? Are you, what would be some other ones that were in that? You cannot calm down. You just find it real hard to take a deep breath and just really relax. In the very beginning, a long time ago, I couldn't even take a hot bath. I'm like, where the bathtub is filling up and I'm like, come on.
No time for a bath, right?
I got things to do, and so I couldn't even sit there and enjoy a nice warm bath. Can you meditate? Now, listen, it's a skill set and I am nowhere near perfect at it, but can you sit and just try to quiet the mind? Or are you constantly thinking about what's on that to-do list? What do you have to do in the next hour? What's tomorrow bringing? Are you being woken up in the middle of the night with things that you forgot or things that you just know that you need to make sure that are on task for the next day?
Yeah.
How easily do you fall asleep? These are all things to pay attention to. And it would mean I'm in this kind of heightened alert mode that I don't want to be in.
Sure. Those are great. Those are great little signs to look for if you're stressed, because you're right. So many folks that are living in it they've accommodated to it and they don't even know. So that's a really important piece. And the issue with the stress that it leads to inflammation, decreases your immune system function, kind of all of those things of a toxic overload syndrome and all of the symptoms that people can experience.
Your body has no idea between a chemical toxin, an emotional toxin, or a physical toxin. They're all a toxin.
Mhm. So you have developed, you've got 5 pillars of living a toxin-free lifestyle. So what are those?
So we look at air, what's in the air that we're breathing. And we talked about fragrance as being one of the key components. There's over 42,000 ingredients that a company can pull from that could possibly be in that one word fragrance. Usually it's about 200 different ingredients that are inside that one word. So fragrance is a big one to get out of your home. You'll find so many things clear up for you when you get rid of that fragrance. Then we've got water. We talked about that. I talked about going to EWG, checking out that water tab. We've talked about water. Then we have our food. You talked about glyphosate. It's so important to buy organic foods. And if you cannot choose to afford to buy all organic food, then go to the EWG and at least get the clean 15 and the dirty dozen. Know those. They change every year, so know what they are and make sure that you're utilizing that. As well with food, we want to make sure, I have to watch myself because there are some okay things that you can buy in a box or a bag, but typically if it looks like it came from the earth, it's probably going to be okay to eat. If it's coming from a bag, a box, something that you're going to have to pop in the microwave, just put it away. Don't even buy it.
Yeah.
Okay. We want whole, nourishing food, nutrient dense foods to eat inside of our body. Then we look at the absorbability. We talked about that already in our personal care products. What are we doing our laundry with? What are we washing our hair with, brushing our teeth with? We talked about parabens and sulfates and phthalates, making sure that those aren't in the products that we're using in our personal care. We talked about using the Think Dirty app.
Yep.
And then the mind, what is going on? Not just the stress. That's one key component, but what are you choosing to allow into your mind? Is it good music? Is it uplifting music? Are you watching mainstream media? Are you on social media night and day? Maybe turn that off. Allow good messages to come in. I'm a Christian woman, so I start my day with the word. I end my day with the word. That is what helps me stay in a good spot day in and day out. Journaling, choosing to journal each and every day might be a great way for you. I keep a little notepad beside my bed. If I'm having a hard time falling asleep, it's usually there's something stirring and I just need to sit up and write for a few moments and then I can fall asleep.
Nice. That mind component is, I don't think that we have been trained on how powerful we truly are. And it is, what neuroscience is showing is it's like 86% of thoughts are the same ones you had yesterday. Yeah. So if you aren't in a good spot, let's really check in. It's a dangerous neighborhood to go into by yourself, right? And so
it is. My husband, and here's the thing too, the words that we use, are they speaking life into you and others, or are they not? My husband, I was a very negative person. I know it's hard to believe, but I was. And we instituted the stop, drop, and roll. Remember, as children, we were taught, if you're burning, you're on fire, you stop, you drop, and you roll. Right. So we both worked at home and he'd hear me talking. He'd say, honey, I know. And I got up, I stopped, I dropped, and I rolled on the ground. Now, not saying you can do that out in your workplaces, but I needed that huge distraction to change the words that I was speaking over others and the words that I was speaking over myself. I don't use words like want, try. These are words coming from a place of lack, and we're not. We're not in a place of lack. So be careful about the words that you're choosing to speak over yourself. And that committee inside there, we have to train it to stop. We can do that. Is this serving a purpose for me? Is it taking me backwards? I need to go forward because we're either going forward or we're going backwards. There's no standing still.
Love it. I love it. So in the pillars, what does one focus on first?
Well, I think that's going to be unique to each person. Honestly, what are you dealing with? What kind of things are you having? For me, I had reproductive issues and I had neurological issues. So it was really, really important for me to take a look at the personal care products I was using immediately. That was one place I needed to dive into. Food came like 3 years later. Honest to God, I'm like, I can only handle so much at a time. And so I'm going to clean up what I'm using inside my home. And then the food started coming later, much later. So everybody's a little bit different. And I would say you have to gut check yourself. Your body knows what it needs and what needs to be happening for itself. So don't think that you've got to turn everything upside down. We just have to start with one step. All the 1% add up to 100%. You don't have to take 25% steps. You can take 1%.
I love it. And that's a really great point, because oftentimes when people are not feeling so great, they're kind of stuck. Like they're not sure what to do. I love that 1% approach, because if you do 1% every day, that at the end of the year, that's 365%. So
and you're fatigued. You don't have the energy. You don't have the focus. You don't have what it takes to be able to change 25%. You just don't. You're not in that space to do that at that point in time, even if you're dealing with a chronic disease. You're just not there. You have to decide. A friend described it to me this way. She had an autoimmune disease, lupus is what she dealt with. She's like, I start every day with so many spoons, and I got to decide what I'm going to use my spoons for. When you're in that state, we have to remember what we were like and what it felt like. I'm up on top of the mountain shouting out. I had this beautiful view of the valley. When I started, I was down in the trenches. I had no idea what the hell was out there. I didn't. And I had no idea what it could feel like and what it would be like. But as you continue to take those little steps, you're going to feel a little bit better and a little bit better. And then you're going to be able to take that next right step. So I always encourage people that is just one thing.
Love it. I love it. So is there any way to know, are there easy ways to know if there's something we should be paying attention to in our houses? Because we did the room to room walk, but are there some telltale signs, like you mentioned, around the stress, of some signs to really know, do you have high stress?
So, a lot of us worked at home over the last, couple of years, but let's just say you're out of the home and maybe your stuffiness goes away. But it comes back when you're in the home. Maybe your headache goes away, but it comes back when you're inside the home. Or maybe you only have it when you're at work. It might not just be your work. It might actually be the building that you're inside of, as well. Are there symptoms that are coming and going depending on where you are?
Got it. Yeah, that's a great one. I'll often ask, well, how did you feel when you went on vacation? Now, that hasn't been happening in the last little bit, but more and more folks are starting to get out again. And so that's a great one to know. Well, are you just like the lobster in the lobster pot at home?
Yeah, exactly. And here's the other thing too. When I first started, and I have to remember this, because when you get so far along, sometimes it's hard to look back. But I had my body telling me all kinds of things way early on that I was not listening to, because I had no idea it was a sign. I had no idea it was something that my body was trying to tell me. So when we can clue into what are symptoms of toxic overburden, right? And we know what those are. Oh, well, I feel that way. That is something I'm experiencing. So when is it? Do you feel worse in the morning? And better as the day goes on? Do you feel worse as the day goes on? What is happening? Start journaling, start paying attention to how you're feeling throughout the day. Does any one thing make it better or worse? Is there foods that you eat that make it worse?
And oftentimes people do, at least in coming into a naturopathic office, they're kind of tuned into diet, right? But it's this environmental component of not realizing they're getting bombarded everywhere they go.
It's funny. I teach a course on toxins in the detox pathway, and I'll have people come in, and I've been talking to them, I might have been talking to them for 3 to 6 months prior to them coming into the course. And they're like, I'm good on toxins. I've already, checked that box off. We're good. And they get into the course and like, oh, what? they have no idea. And it's like, I know that. I knew by listening to you talk that you're not totally there yet, because it's just so much to dump on a person and to take a look at.
Yeah. And so that piece of the overwhelm, because it's easy, folks, to get overwhelmed in this discussion. And so I don't want you turning into ostriches, putting your head in the sand. It really is. I love the emphasis on bit by bit, the small incremental changes. Do what you can. As my mother always said, do your best. Yeah. That's all you can do. And that aspect, I love that, paying attention and listening to your body, because that, I really want to just emphasize your words there, because those are really wise.
It's confidence. I don't know about men, but I know for women that overwhelm is huge. The anxiety, the overwhelm that happens when you're looking and you're looking and you're looking for answers and you're just not finding them. And everywhere you turn, it's something different. It's some different thing that I'm supposed to try, and some different supplement or, tea or, whatever it is. And so all these little steps that we have you do is building the confidence. When you have success, that makes you a little bit more confident to do the next thing. And then those shoulders start going back a little bit more, right? And you start standing a little bit taller. So it's really the confidence to know and that I'm on the right path.
I love it. So, you mentioned this component, which I think is called, I want to ask you, what is greenwashing, right? And I think you mentioned it around the label with the no sugar. Now, so I'm wondering how you would answer that.
So same thing with your personal care products. So we see things like all natural. We see things, safe for baby. Babies are used a lot to make you think that a product is safer for you. Hyperallergenic, dermatologist tested. These are all greenwashing terms that are being used. And even today, the word essential oils, there's Glade plugins that say they're powered by essential oils. I'm sorry, that's not the essential oils I want to use on my body. So that's what I mean by greenwashing. We're using terms, the marketers are using terms that lull you into this false sense of security. Kind of like somebody that's in the Oval Office right now. No, I'm just kidding.
There is, right. I mean, the languaging is, it's really important to tune into and not just kind of think, again, I'm going to come back to this concept, the emperor wears no clothes. We think that there are departments that are protecting the public.
They're not.
And the fox is now in the hen house and has been for decades, really.
Yeah.
And so it is really our responsibility to wake up to this and be sovereign beings. Like, some people don't like oh man, that sounds like a lot of work. It's like, well, what else is there to do? Right. Because,
this body, you've got one shot with it.
Yeah.
This is it. There's no do-overs. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is it. This is all we have. And here's the thing. If you've lived a life at all, cigarette smoking used to be sensationalized. Now we know, oh, holy buckets, it's not so good for us, right? Asbestos, used all over the place. Now we know, golly jeepers, maybe not a good thing. There's so many things that at one point science said, oh, this is pretty good. And then we come back and we say, no, it's really, really not that good for us. So don't just trust, what's being shoved down your throat. Get out there and look, start reading the labels. Yes, it might take you a little bit longer to have your phone out while you're doing your grocery shopping, just to check a safety rating on a product. And I'm telling you, you can find good products in Walmart. You absolutely can buy safer products in Walmart. Shea Moisture is one of them. Not ideal, but a whole lot better than some of the other stuff.
I love it. So yes, so reading labels is important. Taking your time, taking a walk through your house. And I think using the app, you said you use the app at the beginning, right? So there's a little bit of a time commitment at the beginning to get up to speed, but then it's very easy. I love, you have got a cutoff number of 3. So I should do this for my own house, because I feel like, well, I'm pretty educated on it, but I haven't. Yes, I love it. So there's my challenge for everybody out there this week. Get that app and check it out. Check out your laundry detergent, your dishwashing detergent. What are the PABA? What are you putting on your face? What are the products that are going on your skin? You know, there's this silly joke that I used to talk about doing detoxification. It's a big part of my practice. And just a silly joke of, you know, most women eat like 1 pound of lipstick a year, and men it's 2, right? So that's a silly joke, but you get the point. There is that stuff is going in our bodies.
It absolutely is. And start there, start somewhere, you know, so that you know what the heck is going on. And you'll learn. You're not going to have to be reliant upon that app for a long time, but at least to get yourself started. Toothpaste is a biggie. I had cold sores. I suffered from a lot of cold sores, which my mother did, my brother did. I had cousins that did. Oh, it's just a familial thing. You know, it runs in our family. No, it's not. It's the ingredients that we're using in our mouthwash and our toothpaste. When I switched over to some natural toothpaste, I don't get them anymore.
Wow. Yeah. So here are some fun facts. So, you know, I'm curious. We have kind of the tail end of the show, and we have the holidays approaching, and you brought up the mind component, and the holidays can be very rough for so many of us. Going through. So they're loaded emotionally, and you know, maybe you're gathering this year, you haven't seen your family in a couple years because of the pandemic, whatever. Do you have any suggestions or tips to make it through with a open heart and ease-filled mind?
Number one is I would say a lot of prayers before you go in with family. Family can be so triggering for so many people. Just remember, do you want to be right, or do you want to get along? You know, just if you kind of keep that in the back of your mind, you know, if you're not asked for your opinion, or you're not asked for your advice, don't give it. You know, start setting some, you know, healthy boundaries for yourself when it comes to family, and find the good things in others. You know, if you want to focus on the negative things, then of course it's going to be difficult for you, but look for the good things about your family. Look for the good in each and every person, and focus in on those things when you get together. Those are my tips when it comes to and then have a way out. Have a way out. So do you have a way to get away from people so that you can kind of recharge? I am not an extroverted person at all. I'm out on stages and people think that I am, but I am not. It takes all the energy out of me. And so I have to have my escapes where I can get alone and recharge. You know, so have that ability to do that, even if it's just go take a walk around the block, you know, just to go clear your head.
Yeah. What are your suggestions? How do you recharge? Like when you're talking about that?
Oh, I walk, I pray, I journal, I read. Maybe I take a long bath. Doing something I like to do, color. I love to color. I love to work jigsaw puzzles. Just doing something that's not taxing on the brain.
I love it. So last couple minutes here, any final words of inspiration, or we'll say final words of inspiration.
Oh boy, now you're going to put me on the spot here.
Well, it doesn't have to be final. We can have you back.
I heard the saying at a conference that I was in. Oh, I don't remember when, and it doesn't matter when, but it was, we have a million wishes every day. but without our health, we have only one. And so don't let yourself get to that point where you are bedridden, you're diagnosed with that chronic disease, you know, have that major diagnosis. Know that this is not a dress rehearsal. This is the one body that we're given, and we really do need to treat it like a temple. And what can we do today? Just one thing to help move us in that right direction.
I love it. Aimee Carlson, the Toxin Terminator. I've got her contact information in the show notes. She's also, you've got a program out there right now. And what I'm looking for, the Vitality Accelerator program. So we have a link in there for you all if you are interested. So if you're looking for some extra support, with a great message and great energy, Aimee here's to like raising the torch of life together and living fully. I love your message. Thank you for sharing it for What's the Health viewers and listeners. And you all, if you liked the show, please share it with 2 loved ones, because this is how we make the change that we want to live in. That's the world that we want to make our hearts know and desire. So, you know, we need to get the word out. It's not coming from mainstream media. They're not telling you. In fact, they're just toxing us out and seeing how much profit they can make. So this is how we change the world. If you like the show, give us a 5-star review and tell people what you learned, because that's the whole root of doctor is docere, which means teacher. That's how I got into it. I love it, bringing these interviews and this information and knowledge to you all. This is What the Health, Dr. Greg Eckel. We are here on Contact Talk Radios, Tuesdays from 2 to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll see you next week.